Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1872. The topic is Q&A, and the title is Struggling with Judgment from Others. One of my online clients, she's a business client. She's a female personal trainer, and she's absolutely crushing it. Training 30 to 40 hours a week in person. She has 10 online clients. So she's working about 50 hours a week, plus she's getting in her workouts and attending to her daily nutrition. She is happy, she's crushing it, but she's struggling. What she's currently struggling with is social pressure from family and friends. She's 24 years old, she's been out of college for 2 years. She has a few friends, but right now she's super focused on business. She grew up poor, so she said she's really focused on trying to build a solid income and establish a business. Not just make some money as a trainer, she wants to grow a business doing this. And she wants to establish that while she's young, has the excitement for it, and she has the space. Meaning she doesn't have relationships, she doesn't have a lot of friends that she goes out and does anything with. This is kind of like her sole focus at the moment. And she's loving it. She's super happy. But she's also dealing with family pressure. Her family is telling her that she works too much, that she needs to have a social life, that she should be dating. You know, being in her mid-20s, she can't wait too long. She needs to be dating. And she's like, oh my God, 20s is still so young. And I was like, you're right. But they also tell her that she's focusing too much on how she looks, even though she knows that how she looks doesn't define her value. She just wants to look good for social media and to grow the business. But she also celebrates when she hits PRs in the gym. She celebrates, getting to eat some fun food balanced with a healthy, perspective on nutrition and life. She's doing a damn good job, actually, of balancing these intense goals with trying not to lose herself in those goals, trying not to define herself as those goals go. And they tell her that she's putting too much of her personal life on social media, but what she's trying to do is build connections with clients. So her family says all these things that she's doing wrong. But when they're at social events, when they're around other people, her family praises her. They'll tell other people, oh yeah, she's been doing great, she's making a lot of money, she's so fit and so disciplined, I wish I could do that. So they tend to be saying positive things around other people, which frustrates her because she feels like they get a benefit from looking like, oh, look how good my daughter is. But meanwhile, they're telling their daughter that she's wrong in everything she's doing when it's just them. So she's frustrated with her parents. She's frustrated that she's being told she's doing everything wrong, but yet they're praising her in front of others. She's also struggling because old college friends are saying similar things. So, why aren't you going out with us? Where have you been? We haven't seen you in forever. You work too much, blah, 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 blah. They're trying to set her up on dates, but she says no. Then they're like, you need to be dating. And she's just struggling so much. She's struggling because she feels the happiest she's ever felt, and she's excited about her future. But she feels like everyone is saying what she's doing is wrong. In a recent discussion, we talked about the differences in kind of like ideologies, the difference in mental frameworks that others have versus what she has. And I asked her, said, have you defined for yourself? Like, have you literally sat down and wrote it down? Like, what is happiness for you? Like, how would you define happiness? How would you define a good life? In this life, what makes you happy? In this life, what makes your life worth living? Like, what makes it a good day? How do you define a good day? I said, one of the things you're struggling with is I don't know if you've ever sat down and done that. You've been accustomed to growing up with everyone else telling you what is success, everyone else telling you what's happiness. Others are defining a good life, others are defining happiness for you. And then they're imposing their definition on you. They're telling you that you need to do X, Y, Z in order to be successful. You need to do X, Y, Z in order to be happy. But that's based off of their definition of successful and happy. What's yours? What is your definition? If their framework, if their definition is different than yours, then it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be frustrating because if they're not aware of that and they continue to impose what's right or wrong as defined by them on you, that's very frustrating. But it doesn't actually mean you're right or wrong. You're right or wrong for their definition, but maybe not for your definition. This is important for us to know because if others are placing judgment on us, how do we handle that judgment? Do we account for it? Do we listen to it? Do we modify for it? Or do we just kind of let it roll off our back? It's important that we define our own definition of success and a happy life and a good life, because then that's how we define what's right or wrong. What's leading towards our definition. We don't want to go towards someone else's definition. We want to go towards our definition. One of the things I asked her to do was to start to find others with the same framework. So once you've defined your framework of what's happiness, what's a good life, find others who have that same framework. She's been so busy with work that she's not cultivating a new social network. As she's becoming a new person, she's still around the old network. She's still around the old definitions. Where are the new people? Where are the people who want the same as you, who would define success the same as you, would define happiness the same as you? I said, have you joined any social media communities? Maybe have you gone to any local events? Have you found some like-minded friends? We started talking, and she has a friend, a client that has turned into a friend. This client, they'll train twice a week, and they usually talk for an extra 20 or 30 minutes after the session is over. She strategically places her kind of at the end of chunks of training blocks so they have time that they can talk. And I said, well, have you ever just gone out of the gym? Have you ever gone, on a dinner together? Have you ever joined her friend network for the evening? Have you gone out and met some new people? If you're developing into a new person, it would be helpful to develop a new social network as well. Find like-minded people. Find people who would define a good life the same as you. Others will judge what you're doing as right or wrong as defined by their framework, not yours. If you don't have aligned frameworks, then their judgment really doesn't apply. If somebody's telling you, well, you're doing that wrong, it's like, yeah, but you don't want the same outcome that I want. You're telling me it's wrong based on what you would want from it, not what I want from it. Therefore, it's not wrong. Or maybe it is, but not for the reason that you think. So it's good to be open-minded and kind of double check what you're doing. But how we define right or wrong is going to be different than how others might do so. It's important to know that, and it's important to realize that other people are going to mean well. Gosh, ain't that a loaded phrase? They're going to mean well, but they're going to be telling you right or wrong based on their definitions, their framework. If they haven't asked you what yours are, and then said, hey, given what you said your goal is, I don't know if this is going to help you lead there. They're not saying it in that way. They're saying, hey, this is wrong based on what I think is right or wrong, not based on what you are thinking is right or wrong. If you don't have aligned frameworks, then don't allow their judgments to sway your decisions. Find like-minded people, and you can use them as guideposts as needed. So I've been very fortunate to be around some awesome people in life, and I would define myself as a Christian and believing in a Christian God. So I use that religion as a framework as well. But then I also have really good friends who are living life the right way in areas that I want to be living life that way. So I look and see, okay, well, what are they doing? Am I doing something similar? So you can use like-minded people. You can use people who've been successful as you would define success. You can use them as guideposts. But you don't want to use old definitions, old networks that have differing definitions of right or wrong as your guideposts, right? I'm not going to follow a map from Miami to Los Angeles if I'm trying to get to New York City. If you follow their map, you're going to go where they're going. But if that isn't where you want to go, don't follow their map. And that's okay. It's okay to follow your own map. It's okay to carve out your own path. It's okay and actually appropriate, and you need to define your own framework. What does success look like to you? What does happiness look like to you? And it would be a good idea to kind of jump it back in on those questions every couple months. Maybe every 3 months, every 6 months. Has that definition changed a little bit? Make sure you're still pursuing what actually will make you happy, because that might change a little bit over time. Maybe what you think success and happiness is now might be different in a year. So make sure you adjust, and then adjust your daily habits and your actions accordingly. Make sure you're going in the right direction, and understand that that direction may change over time. So just revisit those questions, revisit those definitions. And within that framework, within those definitions, is how you want to judge whether what you're doing is right or wrong. Not from the framework of others. So if somebody tells you you work too much, but in your mind you're like, well, I like what I do. I like working. I don't really have anything else I'd rather do. If it's 6 p.m. and I have an option to do whatever I want to do, this is what I want to do. Then great. Then you're not working too much. You're devoting effort into a passion. You just change the linguistics around it and be like, okay, well, this is my hobby. I also happen to make money from my hobby, but it's my hobby. It's my passion. It's my dream. It's what I love to do. As much as they might love to sit in front of the TV for 3 hours, or read a book for 3 hours, or socialize for 3 hours, you might love to continue to work on your passion. And that's okay. If they tell you don't have a social life, maybe right now, the social life that you've had before was built around who you don't want to be anymore. Maybe you're redefining who you want to be. Maybe you don't want to go to a bar, for 2 or 3 hours, a couple of nights a week. Maybe you do. That's okay. But it's okay and appropriate to define it however you want, and those definitions can change. What I did for a good time in my 20s, thankfully changed. And, it's a little bit different now. Now that I'm married, anytime I have that is not working, I love to just be with Meredith. Before I had Meredith in my life, I didn't have anything else to do, so I just worked or worked out. That was what I did. That made me happy. Because I knew I was cultivating and building a life that then when I found the right person, I would have had it in place. So I was preparing myself for the right person rather than just wasting time. I felt productive doing it that way. So you have to define that for yourself. What is working too much for you? What is an appropriate social life for you? If you're paying attention to how you look, like her family was judging her for saying you worry too much about how you look. But if how you look impacts your business, giving it some attention would probably be a pretty damn good idea. Looking above average is a great way to get people interested in what you're saying and what you might know. And then you want to know a lot of content, you want to know what you're doing so that way you can keep them. It's just like painting, making the great billboard or putting together a good commercial. You are your commercial. You are your billboard when it comes to personal training. So you want to paint a good picture. You want to make a good advertisement. And that's understandable. So the thing I went into and what I really emphasized for that client was to define their own definitions. Make your own definitions of what a good life is and what happiness is. And then that's how you want to judge what you're doing, whether it's right or wrong. Is it leading me in this direction or is it not? And then I asked her to create a new social network. I said, if you're becoming a new person, it'll be helpful to get new people around you. Get like-minded people. Find some communities. Find some people. Find a new world that you can live within that fosters the new habits that you want to sustain. And that's what I would encourage anyone else listening to this if they've been struggling with judgment from others. Make sure you're defining life your way and then judging your actions based on those definitions. Then find a good, solid social network, find like-minded people, and use them as guideposts. Don't use old ideas, old frameworks. Don't use definitions that don't match yours as guideposts. Find like-minded people. Find people with the same definitions and use them as guideposts. I wish you the best of luck. I encourage you to hear what others say, consider it, but don't let it define you. Take charge of the definition of who you are and what you think is right or wrong for your life. This is your life. This is the only one you're going to get that we are aware of. It's the only one. So don't live it for other people. Live it for you. Now, do that in a healthy way. Do that in the right way. Don't be selfish and stuff. But take time. Define success. Define happiness. Find other people that define it the same way. And then live according to what's going to help you push in the direction you want to go. But make sure it's you. Driven by you. It's your definitions. It's your life. It's your desires, your dreams, your goals. It's your life, your way. Okay. Well, if you have any questions, if you need anything, reach out. My email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. I'm always here and I'm always happy to help. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which we can do on our website. Also, if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Jim. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.